there aren't many people who like GCSE English literature. That's just a fact, because people just see it as memorising quote, quote, quote. Oh, let's just memorise the ideas that we'll just use whatever the question is. Or the writer uses a simile, metaphor, sonification. Well, I think we just need to break it down slightly. So there are two papers. Paper 1 is the Shakespeare and the 19th century novel. Now, obviously this will vary a lot depending on what book you're doing and what play you're doing. But for me, the 19th century novel was the longest book I did, with Great Expectations. But there were other sets in my year who did a very short book in something like Jekyll and Hyde. But I think the key thing we need to take away from paper 1 is looking at an extract closely and then comparing it with the rest of the novel / play. Because what we need to understand is that everything changes. From the start of a play to the end of the play, that things aren't the same. If you look at Macbeth is not the same in Volume 1 as he is the tyrant in Volume 5. So we need to understand what is changing, and then we need to look at any extract we're given and closely analyse it. That's the important thing. You get 2 bullet points in your exam paper here. How does Shakespeare or whoever present blank in the extract, and how does it present it in the novel as a whole? So I think that's the key thing there. Understanding that you got to do both, which means you don't necessarily have to know as many quotes from the entire novel, but they're still very useful in trying to back up any point you're trying to make. Paper 2 is a bit different in a few ways. One, it's a bit longer, 2 hours 15, which is probably going to be the longest one you face all summer, as well as the 3 different sections. So the modern prose or drama text section is that, such as An Inspector Calls or Lord of the Flies, and the important thing to remember here is you do not get an extract, which means you need to know everything inside out, so you can draw ideas and quotes from across the text as a whole, because it's going to be a question about the whole of the text and not an individual moment. While there might be individual symbols, they might bring up a conch, or in Lord of the Flies, or maybe the role of Inspector Ghoul in an Inspector Calls. But the important thing is that you know everything about the book, because that's what's going to set you apart. Do you show that you understand the entire book? Yes or no. It's as simple as that. With the poetry anthology, the thing here is that you only get one copy of one text. You don't get 2 poems. So with the one poem you have to be able to think of a poem which compares well with it. So if you've got London, what are you going to pick? You're going to pick Ozymandias, or you're going to pick something ridiculous like Tissue? Because you've got to understand that you need to know all 15 poems. Maybe some better than others, because you're not going to remember 15 poems by heart, as well as the being ready for a modern text. I say modern, it's probably early 20th century, and if that. But focus on the what and the how. What are the poets saying? Compare the ideas. And then how are the poets trying to get it across? Compare the methods with metaphors, similes, and what are they trying to achieve by using these different methods. The final part of this section is the unseen poetry. Now what you need to understand with unseen poetry is that there are 2 questions. There's a 24 marker, which is basically a mini essay. Well, I say mini, it's most of an essay about an individual poem. Then there's an 8 marker comparing the methods between 2 poems, which literally means then how. What's the difference in how they're written? Poem A uses a metaphor, poem B doesn't use a metaphor. Ta-da. That's 2 marks. Keep making points like that and you get close to full marks on that, which means you don't need to spend that long on the question. With the unseen poetry, look for recurring images, look for key ideas that are obvious to you, but then try and take them slightly below the surface. You obviously don't know as well as the given anthology poem, but you still need to be aware of different ideas coming through, and also look at the key images. Is it about violence, love, nature, whatever? But just focus on what and how the poem is written.